This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Fulham 1, Liverpool 1. Salah spares the Reds' blushes late on at the Cottage, with Liverpool unable to move clear at the top of the Premier League table. Welcome to the Debrief Live here on the Blood Red channel. I'm Guy Clarke. Matt Addison alongside me as we react to the draw at Fulham. And Matt, I'll come to you straight up. Tonight, were Liverpool lucky to get away with a point?
I'm not sure I'd go that far, to be honest. I think Liverpool were obviously much better in the second half. First half, there's no doubt about it. They could have been more than one goal down, but I did think in the second half they were much better. But I think, the only way you can look at it is that Liverpool were really, really poor for a lot of that game. I suppose there is an argument to say, that they were lucky to get away with it. I think probably just about, given the pressure they put on. It was pretty relentless in that second half, wave after wave. Okay, there wasn't chance after chance after chance, but Fulham were penned back. But yeah, Liverpool didn't really look like scoring, did they, until that penalty? I think they probably just about were deserving of a point, but yeah, they are going to have to be much, much better than that going forward, because they just didn't seem anything like themselves. And I know there's a lot been said about the away record and that sort of thing. I'm not 100% convinced about that because of certain matches in the run since that 3-0 defeat at Watford. A lot of those games have not meant anything. They've been, the Manchester City game in Project Restart and things like that. They didn't really matter, but there is a point, I think, where you start to look at it and go, Liverpool are not doing particularly well away from home, and it was another example to add to the list, really, in terms of that argument, just in terms of the performance as well as the result.
Yeah, was it a case then, sort of, as you say, second half, maybe it was throwing the kitchen sink without always looking like Liverpool were going to score? But first half, floodgates wide open in defence. We got Susan's comment on the screen there, awful first half. I mean, Aston Villa apart, perhaps, it's hard to sort of think of a first half in which Liverpool gave up so many chances. You could hear Jurgen Klopp on the sidelines shouting after that first goal, or when Fulham's goal went in, just telling everybody to wake up.
Yeah, that was it. It was just a case of they couldn't keep hold of the ball, could they? They seemed to be panicking a little bit. Even Jordan Henderson, every pass that he played seemed to be straight, long down the middle of the pitch and giving Fulham the ball back. And he wasn't the only one. He's obviously just one that I've picked out there. Salah and Mane couldn't keep hold of it. Firmino didn't seem to be able to do anything, positive in terms of keeping hold of the ball. And Fulham were brilliant. I think, obviously, all of the talk is going to be how bad Liverpool were, and that is absolutely true. But I thought Fulham, the energy, the pressing, the way that they put Liverpool under pressure was really, really brave, in terms of the tactics for them to go up against Liverpool and try and press them into errors. That the players that Liverpool have, if they had performed a lot better, that could have been a real risky tactic. But yeah, I think probably Liverpool were a little bit surprised by just how good Fulham were. I thought Ademola Lookman, he was one that I picked out earlier in the week as being one to watch, but I didn't even, think that he'd be quite as good as what he was. He seemed to be getting past Liverpool's players with such ease. And yeah, as I say, in the second half, it was the other way around. Liverpool much more in control of it, but certainly first half, Fulham will probably be looking back and thinking they could have had one or two more goals, because, as you say, Alisson was great and kept Liverpool in it to an extent. But yeah, it was just one of those performances that it never quite felt like Liverpool were going to go on and turn it around. But I suppose that the positive is that they did at least get one goal back and take a point back to Liverpool.
Yeah, let's talk about Alisson then and how key he was in the game. Of course, back from injury in place of Craven Cottage, a timely return for him.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, not that Kelleher's done anything wrong. He's been absolutely brilliant since he's come back in. But yeah, Alisson was a big player for Liverpool today. There's a couple of good saves in there. As Carragher said on commentary on Sky Sports, he just makes everything look really easy, doesn't he? I thought, there was one or two saves there that were probably a little bit better than what most people might look and think. I think there was one that he got down well to his left and just pushed it around the post. I think one or two other goalkeepers could have pushed that back into a dangerous area or something like that. But, it's just one of those things with Alisson. You never, ever expect that he's going to make an error. And yeah, he was probably one of maybe even the only Liverpool player to be anywhere close to his best in that first half. So yeah, Liverpool have got the sort of return of him and at a timely point, you would say. But yeah, I'm sure he wouldn't have been expecting to be thrown back in quite with that much exposure to the Fulham attacks, because he would have anticipated really that the players in front of him would have done a little bit more to protect him.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about then sort of team news, injury news, where we are with Liverpool. Of course, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was back on the bench today for Liverpool, but wasn't brought on. We also saw Joel Matip go off at half-time. It was said, as you said, on Sky Sports commentary, that may be a back issue. And Diogo Jota, Jurgen Klopp confirming before the game, he is going to be out for a period of time. And that sort of coincides now with an 8-game goal drought, I suppose, for Sadio Mane. We sort of weren't expecting that to come along, but all of a sudden it's 8 games now for Mane without a goal.
Yeah, the problems are, well, as we know, starting to mount up. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold back for the Premier League, Alisson back now, but yeah, as soon as you get those 2 back, a couple more get injured. It looks like 6 to 8 weeks is what Klopp said for Diogo Jota. Similar sort of thing for Kostas Tsimikas as well. So that's an untimely thing for him to be out, because it just puts more pressure on Andy Robertson to stay fit and stay focused. So yeah, it's starting again to look like a bit of an issue, just as it looked like Liverpool had turned the corner injury-wise. Again, today, if Diogo Jota had have been on the bench, you fancy that he would have come on maybe soon after half-time, if not even at half-time, to be honest, because Liverpool just needed that extra little bit of injection of quality off the bench, and they didn't quite have that. So yeah, it's not looking particularly good in terms of the strength in depth compared to what we thought it might have been at the start of the season. A couple more injury worries to add to the list. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I thought probably would have got a few minutes on the pitch today. Probably, for me, I would have looked to have given 10 minutes at the end, just because you never know. You might well need him midweek against Tottenham, or certainly against Crystal Palace. You'd expect to see him for at least a few minutes in each of those games. So yeah, it was a strange one. The Matip injury puts huge pressure on someone like Jordan Henderson, probably to drop back into that central defensive area. Nat Phillips, of course, was on the bench for Liverpool, but I think Jordan Henderson's superior ability on the ball and ability to keep possession and keep it moving probably was the decisive factor in that. It'll be interesting to see what Jurgen Klopp goes with against Tottenham. Obviously, we know how good they are. Harry Kane, Heung-min Son. Ideally, you'd want a proper centre-back to be in there. But yeah, it looks like it may well be Fabinho and Jordan Henderson. So yeah, it's a difficult situation to get through. It's not exactly a huge surprise, is it, that Joel Matip is out again. We knew it was a huge ask for Liverpool to get through to January without him picking up another injury. And unfortunately, it seems it's come at a not particularly good time, because Liverpool have got a few decent fixtures, you would say, on paper. I suppose today was one of those, but Liverpool didn't get the job done. But over the festive period, Liverpool have got a few decent games in there, but the big one really is Wednesday night, isn't it, against Tottenham?
Yeah, certainly it looks as though the weekend was shaping up nicely for Liverpool as well. Of course, Chelsea beaten by the Blues on Saturday night. Tottenham drawing late on with Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park just before this game. But looking ahead to that, then, Spurs and Liverpool joint top of the Premier League table, and Mourinho's side coming to Anfield. Did we maybe, Matt, see Jurgen Klopp resting a few players before the end today, and the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mohamed Salah, to keep them as fresh as possible for Wednesday night's game?
Possibly. I think the Trent one possibly was a pre-planned one. Obviously, he's just come back from injury, played midweek. You wonder whether that was one that, no matter what the scoreline was, that was always the plan, to bring on Nico Williams, just because, let's say, he's only just come back. You'd want Trent to be there midweek, and then next week it would have been a big ask, having had 4 or 5 weeks on the sidelines, for him to come back and play 90 minutes 3 times in the space of 8 days. So that would have been a difficult one for him. But yeah, the Mohamed Salah one was a strange one. He was going to be taken off just before he scored that penalty. Obviously not the best penalty in the world, but again, you'd want him to be the one taking it. And it was a really strange sort of situation for me. I don't really understand the logic behind taking him off. If it was to save him for Tottenham, well, you've got a game to go and win at Fulham. So for me, I'd have kept him on. I think certainly, Decordova-Reid coming on didn't exactly fill you with confidence. We've seen plenty of examples of him being in the team and not really doing enough. So Yeah, it was a strange one. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp wouldn't say that he had one eye on Wednesday night. In truth, I don't think we'll ever find out. I don't think we'll ever know. But I suppose the fact that they are thinking about these things, the fact that they are, potentially thinking about taking off a Salah or a Trent with the eye on the next game, just really underlines how many injuries Liverpool have got now. If Jota was fit, I know I said it before, but you'd expected him to come off the bench or started. Yeah, it's a real frustrating one. And, with the long list of injuries, it doesn't get any easier for Liverpool. But I saw a comment pop up on the screen a few minutes ago, and it said Liverpool just have to basically stay in touch with those at the top until January, February time. And if they can do that, I'm confident that they can do that, given the fixtures that they've got. It will put them in good stead if they can turn a corner with these injuries at some point. We keep saying it. We keep saying, oh, maybe in a couple of weeks, one or two of these players will come back. And of course they do. But then one or two others get injured as well. So yeah, it's a frustrating period. But yeah, you've got to back Liverpool to get themselves through this next few weeks. And you just know that the mentality, the performances will be much better at some point than what it was today, and in some point over the next few weeks and before the end of this season.
Yeah, and Naby Keita, another one of those names actually we didn't get to, who is also now back on the treatment table. Well, that's it from us here on the Debrief on the Blood Red channel. Don't forget Jurgen Klopp's post-match press conference to follow on, plus plenty of reaction over on the Liverpool Echo website. Do go check it out. But from myself, Guy Clarke, and Matt Addison, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.